What's up, everybody? Apologies that it's been a few days. I haven't recorded a video in a little bit. I've been a little under the weather. But I kind of felt like I had to right now because I was just in the car distributing the new NYSF magazine. If you guys haven't checked it out, please do. It's pretty much in every location that you can think of across North Jersey, Bergen County. I just sent them out in Morristown, Florham Park, Madison. If you need a complete list, just hit me up in DMs or whatever, and I can get it to you guys. You can also subscribe at nysfmag.com, so definitely check that out. But as I was saying, I was in the car, and I was hearing on the radio just tons of Giant fans complaining about, the state of their team. And I am just so thankful that we have a general manager that didn't do what the Giants did, because we could have 2 years ago. We were in position to kind of go down that route 2 years ago. And what I'm talking about is thinking that you're better than you are, thinking that you're closer than you are. The Giants felt that Eli still had a few years left. They were running back away, which is why they passed up on our boy Sam Darnold. And they gave out all these big contracts, and look where it's got them. It's got them absolutely nowhere. And in fact, now they are further away than they are, closer. They could have started the rebuild process a couple years ago. They didn't. And now it's going to be, 3-4 years before they're contending again, probably. Odell wants out. I mean, it's a complete mess over there, okay? And we had a chance to go down that route, but we didn't. Maccagnan recognized that this roster was pretty far away, and rather than try and piece together another winner, he said, you know what, let's start over. Let's completely tear it down. He got rid of all the veterans, Revis, Harris, all those guys, Marshall. We tore it down, we started over, and we rebuilt it. That was the right move, okay? And so, obviously, to expect a winner at this point in year 2 of the rebuild is silly. But still, there are complaints about, another mid-round pick today in Justin Burris getting released. And I hear those arguments. I hear those complaints. Obviously, our depth would be a lot better right now if Maccagnan would have hit on some of his mid-round picks, okay? He has hit on a few of them, but he's missed more than he's hit. Okay, and again, I would still love to see those numbers as they compare to other NFL general managers. But for now, okay, the one thing I want to talk about is replacing those guys. Because when you're talking about mid-round picks, right, what are you expecting? For the most part, you're not expecting those guys to be star players. You're not expecting them to be impact players. All right, you're hoping maybe you get a starter or two here or there. Maybe you find a diamond in the rough. But for the most part, you want guys that can at least get on the field, contribute, maybe be special teams guys, good role players, solid starters. That's what you want from your mid-round picks, okay? But, looking at other general managers, you're going to have more misses than you have hits. And so the key is to be able to replace those guys. And I just want to go down the list really quick, okay? So Devin Smith, 2nd-round pick. We drafted him to be a deep threat. Robbie Anderson, undrafted free agent. What has he been since he's been here? He's been our deep threat, right? Seems like a wash almost, right? If you would have got that production out of your 2nd-round pick that we've gotten out of Robbie Anderson, I think most fans would have been happy. But because Robbie was the undrafted free agent and Devin Smith was a draft pick, we go nuts about it. Same thing, Lorenzo Mauldin. We signed Josh Martin late in 2015 to the practice squad. He's been a great special teams player. He came into this season as a starter at outside linebacker. Unfortunately, concussions have kind of put him down a little bit. But again, to me, that seems like almost what you would expect out of Lorenzo Mauldin. Maybe we were hoping for a little bit more pass rush productivity out of him. Injuries also affected him. But, continuing down the line, Bryce Petty. And I'm just going to combine Bryce Petty with Christian Hackenberg because Sam Darnold. That's all you need to say. Once you get it right, it doesn't matter. And we got it right. We've had how many picks, how many general managers that haven't been able to get it right? We finally got it right with Sam Darnold. And it's only been 7 games. We know we've got it right. Okay? So to me, the Petty and the Hackenberg picks, you took a flyer on some late round guys, hoping you could develop them. Didn't pan out. You traded up. You made the correct move. You got your franchise guy, Sam Darnold. To me, that's a wash. 5th-round pick, Jarvis Harrison. Jonathan Harrison, backup. I mean, you're talking about a backup lineman in the 5th round. I'm not going to go crazy about that, especially when, a year later you trade up. You get Brandon Shell in the 5th round, which was an incredible move. Shell has been progressing so nicely. He's been one of the best tackles in the league this year at right tackle. Still young, still improving. Gotta love what you have with him there. And then Deon Simon, 7th rounder. And those are all his very first draft. which is pretty scary. Pretty much all those picks are gone except Leo. Again, he was using Idzik scouts. I'm not even going to use that as an excuse, but he's also replaced those guys. Deon Simon, Mike Pennell, signed him to a 2-year deal. He's a guy that's actually younger than Deon Simon. So, to complain about, we cut Deon Simon, a 7th-round pick. Well, you got Mike Pennell, who's your depth D lineman, and you signed McClendon also to a pretty cheap contract to replace Harrison. So again, what are we complaining about? I don't know. So again, you go to the next year. I already mentioned Hack, Justin Burris, 4th-round pick, the guy who everyone's going crazy about today. Darryl Roberts, claimed him off waivers. Good depth guy. He's been starting the last couple weeks, getting a lot of praise. Did pretty well against Thielen. So again, to me, it seems like that's a wash. No? If you got the kind of production that you're getting out of Roberts, if you got that out of Burris, would people be complaining about the draft? I don't think so. So again, you got to hit on the 1st-round picks. And if you're not hitting on the depth guys, you got to be able to replace them. And I feel like we are, for the most part, replacing them. Now, going to the next year, and that's where the one issue I'll have, the one issue that I really, really don't like, is when we went back-to-back receivers with Stewart and Hanson, and not one of those guys have panned out. To me, that's the one legitimate gripe that you can have, because even guys like Matthews and Curse, they're good hold-the-fort guys, but they're not long-term options. And yes, we do have the cap space to replace those guys and to get it right eventually. But if one of those guys would have panned out, if we would have picked a receiver, in the 3rd or 4th round of that draft last year, and just one of those guys would have panned out, that would be awesome to have for Darnold right now. Unfortunately, we don't. But again, next year, we got a 1st-round pick, we got 2/3, and we got $100 million in cap space. So, to say that we can't sign a receiver and fix that, it's wrong. And then the other one, obviously the last one of the 10 that have been released, is Dylan Donahue. And you can point to guys like, Brandon Copeland or Frankie Louvu. I mean, Donahue was a 5th-round pick. So again, when you're talking about guys after the 4th round especially, which have been, Donahue, Harrison, and Simon, I don't know how much you can really expect out of those guys. The 2nd through the 4th round, yeah, you want to hit on those a little bit more. You want to have a higher percentage of guys that are at least on the field contributing, if not starters. And, he's had a lot of misses. There's no doubt about that. But he's also replaced a few of those guys. And in the meantime, while rebuilding, saved up $100 million and has this thing heading in the right direction. And I'll keep saying it for the millionth time. The number one thing you have to do if you're trying to build through the draft, you have to find cornerstone players in the 1st round. Those are your building blocks. Those are the guys that you build your team around. Can you build a team around Sam Darnold? Can you build a team around Jamal Adams? Can you build a team around Marcus May if he gets on the field, which hopefully he will? Can you build a team around Leonard Williams, Darren Lee? To me, the answer is yes. And not just that, all right? With all the guys that have, that have been released already, that have been bust, you still have some other guys in there that aren't doing too bad. Jordan Jenkins, quality starter. He's not going to be, the Von Miller or, dominant edge rusher that you would want, but he's going to be a quality starter. He's putting up numbers, and he's going to play his role within this defense. You need guys like that. Nathan Shepard, again, rookie guy, 3rd-round pick. He's starting. Already talked about Brandon Shell. You got Lachlan Edwards as your punter in the 7th round. Chris Herndon looking like a potential starter at tight end in the 4th round, which could be huge for Darnold. So again, the list goes on. Obviously, like I said, there have been more misses than there have been hits in the mid to late rounds. And I would love to see how that compares to other general managers, because I don't think Maccagnan is that far off, from the league average. And that's what he's been in those rounds. He's been average. He's been average at best in those rounds. And that's a fair critique of what he's been in the draft. But to me, again, for the 15th time, the 1st round is where you make your mark. And he's been as good as anybody in the 1st round. And not just that, he made the decision to rebuild. He's got us $100 million in cap space, and there's so much room to improve. So really quickly, before I, wrap up on all that, obviously tomorrow, Jets-Bears, everybody's expecting it to just be an absolute blowout. I'm not really sure what to expect, to be honest. I think this is a game where we're going to play it pretty conservatively. We got so many guys out, between Quincy and Robbie, your top 2 receivers. Shout out to Bilal Powell. Hope he's doing well. It sucks losing him for the year. Who knows if Spencer Long's going to play. It looks like we might get back Screen and, maybe Tremaine Johnson. Who knows? I think he's doubtful still. But, with all the injuries we got, going up to Chicago against that team, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. Even at full strength, that would have been a tough game. But this is it's a great opportunity for a lot of these young guys. If they could just show up and be competitive, again, that's what you want. These guys are actually going to get on the field. Some guys that we didn't expect maybe to get on the field a lot this year. There are plenty of reps to go around right now, and that's all part of the process. Again, people want to overreact week to week, based on, wins and losses. I've mentioned it a few times. I'm never going to be that guy that does that. I'm going to judge the bigger picture and where we are at the end of the year. And, just looking at, what we have right now, I think we have a young core in place that is built for success for the long term. Some people might disagree. You're free to do that. But, we haven't had a general manager bring in a franchise quarterback in quite a while. And not just that, I've talked about it. We have an anchor leader at every single level of the defense. We got, an offensive line that's starting to improve a little bit. Still need some reinforcements. You still need some weapons on offense, obviously. But again, that's why you have the money to do that. He hasn't spent foolishly. He's hit on his top picks. And yeah, he deserves criticism for missing on, quite a few picks from the second to the fourth round. But I don't think it's that far off from what most general managers do. So again, we'll see what happens tomorrow. A lot of these depth guys are going to get tested out. Hopefully, we could just have a solid performance. We could show up and keep it close. So go Jets. Talk to you guys soon.